ABC4 News at 5 starts with breaking news.
And you're looking at that breaking news right now. News Chopper 4 is over the scene of a pursuit. Ileana Marino, this is according to the CHP. This is what, on PCH, Michael?
I believe so. We are getting word that it's in Newport Beach. I want to check with my desk. Is that right? Ileana.
Michael, it sure is. It's in Newport Beach, but this actually all started in Long Beach. It is a driver that we believe is wanted for speeding, and it is now the California Highway Patrol that is in pursuit of this guy. And you can see that this CHP officer is getting ready to do a pit maneuver, and it is the perfect spot for it. He is on Pacific Coast Highway, and he's been on it for quite some time now, but he just psyched me out. It looks like he's going to be getting on the freeway here. So he was just on PCH, and he was on it for quite some time. And again, this started in Long Beach near Anaheim Street, and the driver failed to yield. He was on the freeway there for a little bit of time, then got off onto Pacific Coast Highway, where essentially had been there ever since. And now he's just on the other side of that building. We'll see him pop out the other side. Lots of reckless driving. He has significant front end damage to that vehicle. But as far as we know, there were no collisions that took place during the course of this pursuit so far.
Ileana, what street is he on right now? Is this a freeway? It's hard to tell.
Yeah, it's going to be the 55 freeway here in a moment, Colleen. It's essentially where it starts in the Newport Beach area, and he picked it up from PCH. So since we got overhead, this is the first time that we've seen him on a freeway. But he does have the option of essentially continuing to just parallel the 55 freeway and stay on surface streets. So we'll see what he does, but he does have that option here coming up very soon. And there is a motor unit that is directly behind him because he is weaving in and out of traffic. It'll be easier for that motor officer to follow, like situations like this where he's just squeezing between vehicles and manages to get away unscathed.
All right, so again, in Newport Beach, Ileana, we know that this was a want for speeding in the beginning. This is the gray Toyota Camry. Anyone else inside of that vehicle with the driver?
It's hard to tell, Michael. I really haven't had a chance to look in there too much. The windows do have tint, although it isn't heavy limo tint, so I do somewhat see the driver there. Don't really see anyone, though, in the back seat. And in the front seat, we really haven't had a chance to check just yet. But again, significant front-end damage to that car. I believe it's missing the front bumper. And we just left Newport Beach. We are now in Costa Mesa. There's that CHP officer again, pulling up right next to the driver. Very strange behavior here. It's not something we typically see. We usually see those officers trail behind and move in for the pit when the time is ready, but in this case, he pulled up right to that driver.
And Ileana, the problem with doing a pit here is that there are so many other drivers on the road, right?
Absolutely, but look at this right here, Colleen. Yeah, it looked like he had a chance there if he wanted to do it, but now as soon as he moves forward a little bit, there's plenty of traffic here in Costa Mesa. A lot of people just getting off of work, so we can expect that these streets are going to be very heavy if the pursuit continues on surface streets. Yeah,
we just saw those two cars there in the intersection as this car blew through that red light with officers in tow. Again, so give us a location here, Ileana, and again, we don't know if anyone else is inside of that gray Toyota Camry with that driver.
Yeah, at this point, unclear how many people may be in the car. And he was headed towards the 55 freeway, but he made that turn, and now he's back on surface streets, this time in Costa Mesa. We're on 17th Street and Santa Ana Avenue. This is the California Highway Patrol that is in pursuit. You see that lead unit, which is in a regular squad car, and then you have that motor officer still behind. I want to widen out just a touch. I want to see who else is in the mix. I see just another unit. There may be more trailing further behind, likely just holding back traffic, but coming up to a heavy intersection here, busy intersection, and he's making that turn onto Tustin Avenue, again in Costa Mesa.
And Ileana, okay, he's pulling into a parking lot. We can see the front end. He does appear to be missing a bumper. Any idea how this damage happened?
Because it didn't appear to have happened during the pursuit. And look at this, driving on the sidewalk. Oh, my gosh. Oh, I hope there's nobody there. Wow. Incredibly dangerous maneuver there. He got desperate because he could see that those CHP officers were about to box him in. So he said, I'm out of here, and I'm using the sidewalk to get out of here if I have to. That's exactly what he did. And fortunately, no one was injured.
Ileana, in your time of covering pursuits at this point and seeing what we've just seen, what do officers do at this point to become more aggressive? Do they become a little more passive and just follow from the air? What is typical protocol in situations like this?
Typically, when it starts to get this dangerous, they will go into tracking mode. So that's where we see the officers pull off. The driver doesn't even realize that he's being followed anymore, because when he looks in his rearview mirror, he doesn't see the police officers behind him. However, overhead is going to be the helicopter, which is going to continue to track his every move. And when the observer in the helicopter feels that the time is right, they'll call those units back in, or the driver at that point could park, he could bail, and that's when officers would move in for the arrest.
And we just want to let our viewers know how this started and when it started. It started northbound on the 710 near Anaheim. Apparently got off on Anaheim and then had been on surface streets, specifically PCH, for quite a while. The want on this, the beginning want, was speed, and now he's racked up so many other charges after that.
Absolutely. Every move he makes, the officers are noting it, so the dispatchers are making notes of it as well, so that when the officer gets back to the station, when all of this is over and he has to write his police report, his or her police report, they will have all of the notes of what this guy did. They really do count every red light that he runs, every stop sign. It all is counting against him.
Yeah, you know, and it's interesting because we focus here on the driver. We have CHP in tow, but what about these other drivers? There's a lot here at play. They don't know what's happening as this driver approaches. So very precarious position for the drivers around this particular pursuit
look at him
suspect.
here. Look.
Absolutely. He doesn't want to wait in traffic. He gets desperate, and that's when other drivers are really in peril. So, of course, the California Highway Patrol wants to get this guy, but they're thinking public safety first. So if this pursuit gets to be too dangerous, there is a situation where they could just let it go. At this point, we're not hearing talk of that right now, but back to the 55. So as I mentioned before, the 55 freeway was pretty much the closest freeway he could get on, and he had his chance, but he turned before he could. But this time he's fully committed. We're going northbound on the 55, folks, which I can tell you is always very busy at this time of the day.
Interesting that the CHP followed him on surface streets for so long. And interesting as well, Ileana and Michael, typically you don't see a motor officer involved in a chase like this.
Yeah, it's very rare to see a motor officer, just because it, of course, is more dangerous when the driver in the pursuit is in a vehicle and then you've got a motorcyclist trailing behind. But in this case, the CHP officer is sticking with it, which is advantageous in situations where the squad cars can't be cutting through traffic the way this driver is. But you can see he's not the primary on this. It is a regular CHP unit that is taking the lead on this pursuit as we continue northbound on the 55. Passing the Costa Mesa Fairgrounds, so it's going to be Del Mar Avenue, northbound again on the 55 freeway.
Yeah, I can't help but notice the speeds here on the 55. We were looking at Colleen. I'm saying it's well over 100 miles an hour at one point. Now we're at, in the mid to high 80s. Again, still posing a danger. It looks like an exit of some sort here.
Yeah, he is on the transition right now to either the 73, which is a toll road,
right,
or the 405 freeway. So let's see what he picks. Right now, he's set up to go on the 73. So let's see what he does as he completes the transition. But right now, he still has the choice of both. So let's see what he does. Again, we're very close to the South Coast Plaza Mall here in Costa Mesa.
And to the best of our knowledge, we mentioned he does have some damage to the car. Looked like he was missing a front bumper there. We don't know whether he got this or the car was like this.
Yeah, exactly. It's unclear if the car was already like this or if it happened during the pursuit. But the initial report that we got from the CHP is that this guy wasn't involved in any collisions during the chase so far. So he may have already had that damage. But it looks like he is committed onto the 73. Of course, that's the Corona Del Mar freeway. It does become a toll road once you hit UCI. And again, 405 at the 73, high speeds. You're looking at it right there, about 80 or so miles an hour here.
Southbound, correct?
Southbound, correct. So he's headed southbound. So that will actually put us away from the Irvine area. And we are very close to that 405.
Yeah, to think that this was just an initial want for speeding and what we've seen thus far. I mean, again, no accidents to report, but seriously high speeds and a lot of dangerous situations here, especially for those other drivers.
And very close calls as he's trying to squeeze around people. Ileana, because the want on this is speed. There's been no report of it being a stolen car. Isn't it likely they'll know who the driver is?
Yeah, Colleen, and I should correct, it is northbound. I had my map turned around, but he's headed northbound, so he's going to merge with the 405. But to your point, yes, if the car is not stolen and if he's got plates on it, which I haven't been able to tell if he does, then they can run the plates. That should lead them back to the registered owner. It doesn't mean that that's the person behind the wheel if he let a friend borrow the car, for example. So at this point, even though they have the registered owner's information, it doesn't mean that they know who's driving. However, they can go to that address and try to figure that out. They can start asking questions and ask, hey, who did you loan the car to? And then they'll be able to answer some questions that way. But it looks like he is coming up to a little bit of traffic here at Harbor Boulevard. Essentially, the 73 will end here at the 405, and it becomes the 405, but it looks like he may be trying to exit at Euclid.
Yeah, he's got a lot of company there on that exit, though. We see those cars making their way not only for this Camry, but for a CHP who is closely behind here. We see a window down.
And
yeah, appears to be
right
one
back
occupant.
up.
Yeah. Of course, as I say, a window down, he rolls it back up. Eliana, from this vantage point, doesn't look as if there's anybody there in the passenger seat.
There's something on that passenger seat, though, Michael.
Yeah, there is something definitely there, but I wouldn't say it's a person. It looks, yeah, it looks like something, perhaps a blanket or a jacket, something of that nature. But yeah, he was a little camera shy there for us. As soon as I was zooming in to get a good look at his face, he rolled the window back up. So this pursuit continues once again on surface streets. We're still in Costa Mesa. We're now on Harbor Boulevard. So this puts us near that big IKEA just off the 405 freeway. In fact, we're passing right by it for those of you who are familiar with the area. So in the direction that he's headed now, which is essentially northbound here on Harbor Boulevard, that will take him back towards the South Coast Plaza Mall area.
Ileana, it looks like he's also picked up another escort, if you will. The white, is that CHP?
Yeah, it is also CHP, one of their all-white units. And then that black and white that was initially directly behind him is now second in command here. So the pursuit continues on surface streets, and you might be wondering, why is the CHP still following him then if we're in Costa Mesa? And we've been in Costa Mesa now for quite a bit. Well, this started in CHP's jurisdiction. Oh, here we go, trying to tap him to try to box him in, but he just kissed the bumper and didn't really do much to stop the vehicle. But to answer my own question here, the California Highway Patrol started this pursuit, so at this point it appears that they want to stick with it, and they don't want to relinquish it to the local jurisdiction, which would be Costa Mesa.
Okay, yeah, it looks as if that's...
Here he goes again.
Yeah,
Look,
that cruiser's getting a little more aggressive. There we go.
Just spun him out. Let's see if this disables the car. Sunflower Avenue at Harbor. The vehicle has come to a stop. My pilot, James Pollard, bringing News Chopper 4 around so that we can take a good look at the termination of this pursuit.
Ileana, as we're watching this go down here...
NOC, can I get IFB?
Are there some CHP officers or some officers who are more skilled, who train more for pit maneuvers like this? Or is this something that all officers are trained for at this point?
All California Highway Patrol officers are pit trained, so they all learn it at the academy. But yeah, you're right, Colleen. They brought in that completely white CHP unit, and that's the one that did the pit. So perhaps a more powerful vehicle it could be. So that unit, he didn't waste any time. He moved in as quickly as he could, and now the situation that we have here is essentially a standoff, but not anymore. There we go. Vehicle door is opening. They've already asked him to throw the keys out. I haven't seen him do that, but it does look that at least in terms of opening the door, he is complying. But he sees that police canine. They already threatened him with it. They said, if you don't get out, he's going to bite you. And it looks like that is threat enough. It would be threat enough for me. And here you go. The driver is getting out now, hands up, appears to be complying. Slowly trying to walk away from the vehicle. There's something strapped on his arm there. It might just be the seatbelt.
Yeah.
And there we go, sidestepping, following all of the instructions that CHP officers are giving him. They will back the dog away as soon as they know that he is for sure complying, and by all means it appears like he is. So when officers are ready, they will either move in to handcuff him, or other officers can approach the vehicle from the other side and just clear it real quick. But it looks like it's going to be the latter. These two CHP officers moving in for the arrest. Another officer keeping his eyes on the vehicle with his gun drawn just to make sure that nobody else is inside.
Eliana, quickly, it might be situational, but is it unusual for officers here facing the suspect's windshield? Don't they usually approach from the back or from the side?
They absolutely do, Michael. I think
Yeah.
it's just the way it's spun. They really didn't have too much of a choice in this case. But yeah, ideally they want to be from behind, because if they're nose to nose with the suspect, you don't know if they could possibly be armed. We're not saying that in this situation this guy was, but you never know in a situation like this. So out of an abundance of caution, they usually like, for tactical advantage purposes, to be behind the vehicle. But in this case, it looks like everything turned out as well as it could have. A crazy chase. We could have seen a lot of collisions. Unfortunately, we didn't see any. So definitely a lucky driver who is now on his way to the police station, and this pursuit is over here in Costa Mesa.
Remind us very quickly, where did it end? What's the exact location so we can let people know to stay out of that area?
The exact location is going to be Sunflower and Harbor Boulevard in Costa Mesa. So for those of you who live in the area, you'll know where that big IKEA is off of the 405 freeway. We are right next to it. And the vehicles themselves are on Sunflower Avenue. But we don't expect them to be here for too long. They'll clear this out quickly.
All right, Ileana Marino in News Chopper 4. Thank you for that coverage this afternoon.